Welcome to the Fierce Feminine Frequency, and today we talk about the Lilith Wound. So this is for all the boss babes out there, for all the rebels out there, for all the women who are afraid of saying no and are falling into people pleasing. So let's tap into this, okay? And I have so much to say about that, so I really came with a script or at least notes. Okay, so for anyone who does not know that, the Lilith is the first woman of Adam. I talked about this in the Eve Wound episode already. And Lilith was the first wife of Adam, and she left Eden or got abandoned from Eden. No one knows that exactly. Church claims that she got abandoned into the underworld because she dared to say no. She wanted equality. She actually craved for sacred union between Adam and her. And she was independent in her speech. And that was not appreciated by Adam. That's how they claimed it. That's why they created Eve out of Adam, random, to have a role model, a female role model that is obeying, that man can suppress and oppress. All right. And Lilith craved equality. So she is actually a sign, a symbol for sexual liberation as well, for equality, for sacred union between men and women. Well, she got abandoned, so we all know the story. And the thing is now that many women out there still carry the Lilith wound. What is the Lilith wound? The Lilith wound is, on the one hand, the fear of being rejected, because that is literally what happened to Lilith, because she was herself. She was a strong woman and not the cute, challenged one who is not challenging, who is easy. She was a woman with all the perks and flaws, and she got rejected for that. So this is, in my opinion, a wound that carries so many women within themselves, because we just want to be heard, right? We just want to be accepted for who we are, especially with our four faces. We are on our best in follicular and ovulation. All the men are like, oh, she's so cool, she's so easy, I love her. And then we go into luteal and they're like, bye, ghosting. No, that's part of us. That is part of us. And yeah, we are more sensitive and more emotional in luteal because something within us dies. The follicles that our body did not need to get pregnant. So like, yeah, we are sensitive, we are emotional, we are sad. It's our inner autumn, okay? Everything dies. So it's like being on a funeral with yourself. And men don't understand that. So yet, we're getting there, and more do, by the way. I just want to appreciate the ones that do so far. So, but the fear of rejection is within us, especially when we're in luteal, when we're vulnerable, when things are not super shiny and easy with us, and we want to share also these depths that we carry. So that's the first one, okay? Fear of rejection. The second one is rebellion versus overcompensation. So if you carry the Lilith wound, it's that you try to overcompensate that because you know already that you will be abandoned and shamed and hated for being you with your true divine power, self, and strength. So you overcompensate it and are even more than that. So you're a rebel. And you go full in. You want to be too much. You want to be extra, because like, okay, if I got shamed for who I am, anyways, I want to be all of it, like fully. So this is another wound. I carried that wound in my teenage years, by the way. I was really like, I wanted to add even more. Fun fact, spoiler: people did not hate me for that. They loved me for that, and I'm like, okay, USB. Tick. So it can also be something very empowering for other women to see. But still, if you do it out of this intention, it's actually the Lilith wound. Number 3 is silencing or shame. You can also play that out on a very different, like either you overcompensate it and add even more of your personality because you know you got shamed for being you anyways, or you go silent and feel full of shame for saying no, for speaking the truth. That's special people pleasers. That's another way of carrying the Lilith wound. So the Lilith wound is it was the first wife of Adam. So this relationship pattern is inherited over ages and centuries and generations, like a curse. And that's why I do that episode right now, because when you understand that you carry it within you, like we all do, because this is part of our history, of our collective consciousness, then we can be aware of it and we can accept it. And you always have to accept it, otherwise you cannot dissolve it. And then we can heal it and dissolve it and evolve from it. That's what I wanted to, that's my intention with the Feminine Wound series here, that you understand which feminine wounds there are and which one you carry. Most of the women out there who never did personal development carry all of them. Like that's a start, and then you shed them, like coaching by coaching, mentoring by mentoring, therapy by therapy. So this is a big one. And the fourth thing of how to see if you got the Lilith wound or what is the Lilith wound is also you can empower yourself through shadow work. So you tap deep in the shadows. Lilith stands for shadow, for the underworld. So the dark feminine. She's the dark feminine. Eve is the bright feminine. And the bright feminine is very accepted in our society. It's like being the easy, uncomplicated woman. But that's not full-on embodied femininity. Sorry to say it. We're not just easy and uncomplicated. We are that in two phases of our cycle, yeah. But in the other two phases, we are dark and deep. So, and this is part of us. This is important. Men have cycles as well, by the way. They just don't know that. We have cycles and we fully should thrive in it. But society tells us not to do that because it's too shameful to be in lutea and to bleed and have menstruation and be sad and have emotions, because then we're dramatic. Okay, you did not get the whole point. But anyways, so we can empower ourselves through shadow work. This is another Lilith wound trigger. When you understand, like, those women who do a lot of shadow work, like shadow work, nothing else, then they might carry the Lilith wound because they really want to get rid of it. And this is a good thing. So the Lilith wound is not just bad. No wound is bad in that sense. It's part of our epigenetics at some point, especially from women. And we are here to be aware of it and get rid of it, dissolve it, and transform it, alchemize it into something new and fresh, something divine. All right. So as I said, the Lilith wound can also be like you either go silenced and stay ashamed for being who you are and speaking your truth and saying no, or you become the rebel. You become the rebel. You are the cycle breaker. So the Lilith wound, I would even say, got something good, because out of this pain point, we women created so many nice things. We built our own businesses. We spoke our truth. We said no to toxic relationships. We left toxic men or toxic situations. We learned to set boundaries. We learned to create our own lives without asking for permission. In my opinion, Lily wounds, all the wounds carry something good for us because we experience certain things in order to heal that. As I said, empowerment through shadow work. We all did that. The problem here is that many women who carry the Lilith wound are now in a state of like hyper independency, which is not serving you either. Sorry to tell you, because it's making you rigid and frustrated. Like the abundant woman, that's not what we want. That's where the need and urge of healing it comes in. So, what's the signs of the Lilith Wound? I love that I have notes here, by the way. Yes, okay. So, as I said, it's the difficulty to say no. If you have really a problem with saying no to someone and tend to people please, that is a sign of the Lilith Wound. If you're feeling too much or not enough because you're authentic and you're thriving and you're fully feminine and embodied, then if you are either in rage or carry a lot of resentment that feels hard for you to express openly, so you suppress rage. That's what I mean, by the way, with frustration. Like, frustration is they cannot let it out. You should let it out. Sacred rage, it's called. Like in Lilith Wound is a lot about suppressed emotions. And you can either overcompensate it as a rebel, or you go silent and then you're a people pleaser. You are afraid of being rejected and abandoned, and that's why you never say no, or you feel too much and go silent for that, or you are in rage and resentment but cannot express that openly. So this is like you're like a volcano, and at some point it's like phew, not serving you either. I can tell you that. So another sign of the Lilith Wound is shame. Shame around everything, about your personal power, about your creativity, about your sexuality, about everything that makes you a woman. That's also a sign that you carry the Lilith Wound within you. And and I think many of you can relate to that. Okay, another sign of the Lilith Wound is an unconscious need to fight authorities. I did that my whole life, I swear. Even when it's not necessary. Sometimes it's necessary. But sometimes it's not, and you just fight authorities or rules just because. The rebel mode, as I said, that's again the Lilith Wound. Okay, how can you heal the Lilith Wound? Integrate your shadows. That is very important. Like shadow work, then you can empower yourself. Everything that you ever got shamed for, try to accept it and heal that wounded parts within you, and also heal the connection to the people who told you that this is shameful or too much. Number 2, practice saying no. Boundary practices. Start saying no with people who you trust and will not freak out when you do so, to give yourself a beautiful experience. Number 3, release shame. I say that all the time. I know it's boring, but still, it's you heal the femininity wounds like that. Even the Lilith wound, it's release the shame, because when we release shame and guilt from her, we do so much for us and the world, because we help the whole collective awareness bubble to evolve. And find, if you want to tap into rebellion, do it with purpose at least. Like, I'm also rebellious in what I do. I created a feminine leadership business, a spiritual entrepreneur business. That's by default rebellious, because leadership has always claimed as something masculine, and I do it something male. And I don't just say female leadership for women. Feminine leadership is what I'm doing, because it's about the energy. There are so many female leaders out there, because that's just a woman in a leader role. But I am here for feminine leadership, like leading embodied with your femininity. That's rebellious. Everyone's like, what the And I'm like, yeah, we need that. Sorry, but we need that. Look around. There's war everywhere. You're not really doing a good job. I'm sorry to say it like that, but also I'm not. So we need the energy. We need the feminine energy. We need feminine leadership and embodiment. Okay. I'm also rebellious with speaking English here, although I'm Austrian. That's something rebellious in for some people out there. What else is rebellious in my life? There are so many things, but I do it with purpose, because when you have a big purpose, and for example, I speak English because I wanna give my content globally, to the whole world, and not just to the German speakers. I do the feminine leadership because I can really see so many women out there have such powers and gifts, but no confidence and self-trust and self-belief to go out there and be visible. And don't get me wrong, I know this is hard, because the moment you go out there on stage, virtual, doesn't matter, real, doesn't matter, you will get shamed, because women get way more shame than men still. And I think all the moms can relate. Mother Wound is coming next time, by the way. They can relate, because it's really a thing. So we're always on the kickoff board. We're always like the target of someone. So it's very important for us to secure that feminine core within us, heal the femininity wounds, and thrive as strong women without sacrificing our feminine energy and softness. Because then we're real women. Like, there are so many women out there, and don't get me wrong on that one, okay? Don't cancel me on it, but there are so many women who are operating like men. And yeah, it works. And yeah, you make a shit ton of money because you're operating like a man in a man's world. Sure, it works. The concept is proven. But it's not serving us. And it's also not serving the world. Because look at it. Look out there. If I don't consume any media, but now and then I do, like all 2 months I check it out and I'm like, Jesus, okay, no, bye. What is happening? So obviously it's not working for us, right? For peaceful, thriving, joyful, pleasureful living. We do it our way. Women need to be leaders as well and step into their power as well, with confidence, with charisma, with feminine radiation. That's radiance, sorry. That's only working if we healed all these wounds, especially the Lilith wound. So yeah, let's start a rebellion with purpose, and that is feminine leadership. I hope I could help you with that, and I wish you a beautiful day, and see you soon.